Thank you for your talk. Are there any questions? This will be really short. Okay.
Okay, in terms of, you talked about that Hinduism and Buddhism kind of at the same time, and that's coming from the Vedic, and so then we have that image of Indra's net, although Indra doesn't really have anything to do with Buddhism other than they have a net that we use as a metaphor. So what do you to be Buddhist, which is a problem right there as soon as I said that, of course. But if you're like, okay, I'm following Buddhism, what do I have to believe to follow Buddhism? And if I don't believe it, then I'm not following Buddhism.
Okay, so first, could you switch the lights on? Thanks. So first of all, ism is a European idea. So in Asia, there wasn't Hinduism, there wasn't Buddhism, there wasn't Taoism, there was Buddha way, whatever people in India call it, maybe they said Hindu way, I don't know, way of the Tao, Confucius way, these ways, which means that you can actually, some of them you can practice, like people who practice Buddhism can also practice Taoism. It's not that, or it used to be not that uncommon, or people practicing Buddhism and practicing some sort of shamanic or native religion like in Tibet, Bon, or Shintoism, that kind of thing. See, I used ism again. So this notion of an ism, which is a kind of tight idea, it's a very exclusive idea, is not really present until Europeans started messing around with things. So that's the first thing to say. It's not exclusive. It's not like, if you're a Christian, you can't be a Jew, or a Muslim. If you're a Muslim, you can't be a Christian or a Jew. If you're a Jew, you can't be a Christian or a Muslim. It's not like that. It's not mutually exclusive. When you come to belief, what do you have to believe? So Buddhism is the way of the Buddha, I'll have to say Buddhism because that's what you say, is very, very wide. So there's some schools that say, look, if you don't believe in rebirth, you can't call yourself a Buddhist. And there are other schools that say, if you can't believe that Buddha had certain mystical powers and properties, you can't call yourself a Buddhist. And there are others who say, if you eat certain foods, including things like onions and garlic, you can't call yourself a Buddhist. Stan and I really, we visited Taiwan years ago, when he had actually a classics gig in Taiwan, because we were in Korea, and these people in Taiwan said, oh, you're in Korea, come on down. And we met up with some people who were very, very sincere, hard practicing, sort of standard Mahayana Buddhists. And when they learned that we ate onions and garlic, they were horrified, because that's the kind of Buddhism they practice, is that the 5 pungent spices you could not eat. I don't remember what the other 3 are. If you eat meat, you can't be a Buddhist, that kind of thing. So there are different forms of Buddhism that say if you don't behave in certain ways, or if you don't believe in certain things, then how can you call yourself a Buddhist? But Zen is very wide. So Zen is not about what you believe. So my teacher really believed in rebirth. Even though he was raised Presbyterian, he really believed in rebirth. And if you read his books, it pops up all the time. To me, it's almost embarrassing how much it pops up. It becomes an explanation for all kinds of things. And I don't believe in rebirth. At this point, I don't not believe in rebirth. So to me, the question is, what is there to be reborn? That's very similar to what am I? What is this? If you believe in rebirth, what is there to be reborn? If you don't believe in rebirth, what is it that's not being reborn? So that great question, to me, is what's important. And in Zen, so when he made me a teacher, he didn't say, oh, by the way, Judy, do you believe in rebirth? Oh, you don't? No, never mind. He didn't do that. He knew perfectly well that I didn't. He didn't care. So Zen is about holding great question. It's not about having answers. It's not about what you believe, because belief is tight. I believe this, that means I don't believe that. Belief is tight, and Zen is very open. So Zen is this don't know mind. What is this? And you don't clamp shut. And you don't say, oh, I know what it is. Ha, 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 ha. Done. Move on to the next question. It's not like that. So Zen is this openness, this looking at things and not clamping shut. And as my teacher, Zen Master Songsan, said, wake up, help this world. So you wake up to this true nature, which is before speech, before thinking. It cannot be described or given a name. It is never born, it never dies. That's what you're waking up to. So you wake up to this true self, which you don't own. It's everyone's true self. It transcends any limitations. You wake up to this true self, and when you wake up to this true self, you and this world are not separate. How can you not help this world? There's nothing to protect. Just Avalokiteshvara, 1,000 eyes and hands, seeing this world, helping this world. So that's Zen practice. Okay? Thank you. And I should just add, there are plenty of clergy and other traditions who also practice Zen and even teach Zen. So it's absolutely not exclusive. So thank you. Are there any other questions? Yes.
I wondered if you would comment on the idea that karma is what is reborn.
Karma
Is what is reborn. I mean, there's always talk about other lifetimes in your karma and et cetera. So
Yeah.
Are these related things? Not? What are your thoughts on that?
So I think you've heard me tell this story. I'll tell it again. I've been practicing for about 10 years, and there was a Tibetan teacher, a very well-respected Tibetan teacher, who was coming to town. He was giving a lecture up where the yoga studio of Lawrence is, above the Roost, yeah, which at the time was Milton's. Actually, at the time it was a bookstore. Anyway, so he was giving a talk, and of course I wanted to go, so I did. And so there were 3 of these Tibetan monks. There was the middle-aged guy who was the teacher. There was his teacher, who probably was younger than me, but he seemed really old to me at the time. And he was kind of sitting there, kind of drilling. And then there was the young, cute translator. And so, of course, being Tibetan, they talked a lot about rebirth, because that's very basic to their system. And so I was a little smart aleck. I guess I was in my 30s at the time, and maybe early 40s, and I raised my hand and I said, if everything is empty, because they also talked about emptiness, if everything is empty, what is there to be reborn? And so he, said something very sort of dismissive of me, and I didn't really answer my question, just sort of put me down. And I was, of course, pissed off at this. And so afterwards, I went up to him and I said, look, I've been practicing Zen for 10 years. So I had to be in my 40s. I've been practicing Zen for 10 years. I understand emptiness. I can't believe I said that. I understand emptiness. And what is it to be reborn? So the translator started translating my question, but the teacher obviously knew some English, because he grabbed he grabbed my arm with one hand, and with the other hand, so one hand, one has no sleeve and the other has this big sleeve, and with the one that had big sleeve, he goes, karma, 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 like that. And I said, oh, thank you, okay? Because this karma is not our karma. You don't own your karma. You don't have little boundaries, and your karma stays inside those boundaries. Karma is communal. It's not even limited to a species. It's not even limited to a planet. Karma is big and it's broad. It's not individual. And so, yeah, karma is reborn all the time. Karma is constantly shifting and changing. How could it not? So, yeah, that settled it for me. That's why I say I don't believe in rebirth. I don't not believe in rebirth. This karma is fluid. It's constantly changing. It's not like you die and then your karma, like a little cloud, sort of leaves you. I mean, that's kind of the rebirth theory. It leaves you and then it finds another home that in a fetus somewhere or an embryo, and But you don't have to look at it that way. It's just karma everywhere. Then you don't have an individual dying and an individual being reborn. So thank you for your question. Are there any other questions? Yes.
So like my karma isn't necessarily my fault, it might be your fault?
There's no fault. So why do we make... Yeah, but why do you make fault?
Karma just seems like this, I don't know, in Tibetan...
Yeah, so fault is a human idea.
Yeah, okay.
You don't have to make fault.
Or gift, you could say gift,
That's also a human idea.
Well, but karma isn't necessarily, in different ways I've heard it talked about, isn't necessarily bad. It's not necessarily bad.
Right, that's right.
It could be good karma.
Yeah, but why even make bad karma or good karma? Why put these labels on it? Karma means cause and effect.
Okay.
That's what it means. It simply means cause and effect. So something happens, something else happens. This thing happened because that thing happened because something before it happened, like that. But it's not even that linear because it spreads. It's like waves in a sea. So yeah, because we're human beings, we make bad and good. We make these concepts. We make guilt. Boy, do we ever make guilt, right? We make gift. We make all these things. These are just in our mind. We don't have to believe them. We don't have to pay attention to them. We don't have to listen to them. Okay? Yeah. Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So Sean, who I can't see on the screen, is thanking us for chanting for their guiding teacher, Link Rhodes. So thank you, Sean. I don't know why I can't see you on the screen, but you're not there. This is interesting. Sean is listed.
Yeah, thanks, Judy. I got my camera off.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but we should say your name. That's the thing that's interesting. Okay, all right. Anyway, enough technicalities. Anything else? Yes.
This is about karma again.
Okay.
Because I was thinking about, yes, good and bad are human constructions. However, like the two shootings that just happened in the last 24 hours, the one in Australia and the one in Providence, I mean, to me, it seems like it's a result of karma because there's cause and effect. I mean, whether it's this, big web of cause and effect.
Yeah.
But it still seems like bad.
It causes suffering.
Yeah.
Yeah, it causes suffering. You can leave it at that. It causes suffering. And Buddhist practice is putting an end to suffering. Not just our personal suffering, but all suffering. So that's Buddhist practice, putting an end to suffering. We don't have to say suffering is bad. Suffering's suffering, that's bad enough. You know, why label it? You know, there's a poem when you take 5 precepts. There's a poem that's read as part of that's on your precept certificate. Good and bad have no self-nature. Holy and unholy are empty names. Outside of the door is the land of stillness and light. Spring comes, the grass grows by itself. Now, every one of those lines goes back at least 1,000 years to Tang Dynasty China. And they were, you know, most Buddhist literature until very recently, it was really collage. You didn't sit down and put down your personal ideas. Much of it was collage, and that poem is a collage. And then Zen Master Sung-san made the collage, but those lines all come from somewhere else. So good and bad have no self-nature. That's very important, this notion of no self-nature. There's not this little tiny marble that you can't destroy that's called bad. And something that's bad has this little tiny marble of badness in it. Good and bad have no self-nature. So that's the point. You know, suffering, you want to alleviate suffering. Also, the people who performed those really terrible acts, they are suffering. If they weren't suffering, they wouldn't have done it. So we're all suffering. So what do we do with our suffering? How do we use our suffering? That's the question. We don't have to bother labeling it good and bad. Just how do we use our suffering? How do we help others alleviate their suffering? That's the point. Okay? Thank you. Thank you.
Did you have a question?
So, on the topic of, I guess I'm just not fully understanding the point of trying to fully get rid of suffering, because without suffering, feels like joy becomes a lot less valuable.
You can keep your suffering if you like.
Well, I mean,
So there's also an end to suffering. So the 4 Noble Truths, which we said at the start of practice, sentient beings are numberless. We say save them all. Liberate might be a better word. The real word means crossing over to the other shore. So sentient beings are suffering. We vow to liberate them all. Delusions are infinite. We vow to cut through them all. I'm sorry, the delusions are endless. We vow to cut through them all. The teachings are infinite. We vow to learn them all. The Buddha way is inconceivable. We vow to attain it. So that first one, sentient beings are numberless. We vow to liberate them all. Okay? So that's the 4 great vows. And then you have the 4 Noble Truths. Suffering exists. The cause of suffering are, and then there are different lists, desire, anger, ignorance is the one that we tend to use. It doesn't have to be this way. There's an end to suffering. That's the 3rd one. And then here's how to end it. And again, there are different ways to say it. Usually it's the Eightfold Path. In Zen, although we don't say it this way, it's really practice. Just simple practice, you know? So suffering exists, all beings suffer. Here are the causes of suffering. You can end suffering. So what does ending suffering mean? It doesn't mean that you'll never feel pain, you'll never feel sorrow or grief, you'll never feel anger. That's not what it means. What it means is that these things don't have to control you. So usually these things control you. You don't have to sit very long before all of a sudden you'll have an itch. Happens to everybody. Some point early in their practice, they have an itch. And they're told you can't move. Whether you're sitting alone or whether you're with a group, you don't move. But you have this itch. You want to scratch the itch. And you don't scratch the itch. And that's the point. That itch does not have to control you. You know, having an itch, that's a very tiny form of suffering. Most of us wouldn't even call it suffering, but when you have an itch and you can't scratch it after a while, it starts driving you crazy, so it's a form of suffering, right? Okay? So you will suffer, it's guaranteed, because that's the first truth. The first noble truth is every being has suffering. But then the third one is, it doesn't have to be that way. That means it doesn't have to control you. It's not saying that everybody lives in a la-la land where there are lotus flowers everywhere and pure, clear water and wonderful food and the sun is always shining. That's not what it means. It means the suffering does not have to control you. When it doesn't control you, it's just discomfort. It's not a big deal. Okay.
I think I may have been operating under a different definition of suffering then.
Probably, there are many definitions.
Language is hard.
Yeah. So this is the definition I'm using, okay? All right. Thank you for your question. Yeah. Yeah, that's a really big one, because you look at, for example, these terrible shootings that happened in Rhode Island and in Australia, and you look at the tremendous pain this causes, and you know that will never end. You know, you look at Gaza, you look at Sudan, you look at the Congo, you look at all these places in the world where there's terrible, terrible suffering going on. And you know that human beings being what they are, as long as they're human beings, you'll have this kind of suffering. But if you are on Bondi Beach, if you are on Brown University, if you are in Gaza, if you are in Sudan, if you are in any of these places, how do you carry yourself? Where is your mind focused? Is it focused on your discomfort? Or is it focused more openly? That's what we're all really practicing for. If practice was only for when things are good, it wouldn't be worth anything. We practice because we know that things will be difficult for us and for others. And how do we face life in those difficult times? So practice the strong center. And it develops naturally. It's not like you have to, I must have a strong center. It's not like that. You just practice. You have a daily practice and you do it and you do it and you do it. And you just keep doing it. And then this strong center develops by itself. And this open heart develops by itself. And this open mind that doesn't always clamp shut, thinking it knows everything. This open mind that understands, I don't actually know anything, and knows how to use that. So those things just simply develop on their own. So we have these very simple practices: bowing, chanting, sitting. And sitting, you have a very simple thing you look at, like maybe you're just counting your breaths. First out breath 1, next 2, you go up to 10, start again at 1. That's what I always recommend for people who are starting practice, because it doesn't need any context. Everyone understands how to count their breath. So, so you just keep doing that, keep doing that, keep doing that, and by natural process, you will change. And someone looked at their watch, because yes, we're way over time, so we should stop now. So thank you, everybody.